Lee Summit is your destination for big city vibes and small town charm.
Head to the downtown Lee Summit Farmers Market, where local meets fresh. Then grab a cup of coffee and discover a variety of shops and boutiques just around the corner. Continue the fun in downtown Lee Summit at a retro arcade bar. Discover your new beer at one of our 6 locally owned breweries. Cool off with some handcrafted cocktails at happy hour. End the night with live music and good company. Lee Summit, Missouri.
Hello, Lee Summit. Here's your flash briefing for the week of December 11th. City Council will meet for regular session Tuesday night at 6 in Council Chambers in City Hall. If you can't watch, quickly catch up on City Council meetings by subscribing to the Council Debrief newsletter, which breaks down 3 to 4 key agenda items. Subscribe at cityofls.net. The city is still accepting applications for the 2024 Citizens Leadership Academy. The 7-week program offers residents and business owners a unique opportunity to learn about the inner workings of municipal government and engage with elected officials and city employees. The Academy is limited to 20 participants. Apply at cityofls.net. And the Lee Summit Police Department has partnered with behavioral health providers to provide a path to recovery for people seeking treatment for a substance use disorder. It's called Safe Passage. Participation in the program is voluntary and begins when an individual requests help by calling 911, walking into a police headquarters, or approaching a police officer. Officers would immediately connect individuals with treatment and recovery resources. Learn more at cityofls.net. Thanks for listening and have a great week.
Traditionally, we think as police officers, those responding to law enforcement needs within the community. But honestly, we are there to serve our citizens, and our citizens do go into crisis. They do have mental health crises, and we're being called to those scenes on a regular basis. In order to help serve those citizens better, we did initiate the Crisis Intervention Team Program. These are officers that are specially trained to de-escalate crisis situations. Recently, we've brought co-responders onto the scene, licensed qualified mental health professionals housed within our police department, and they respond with those officers directly to those scenes where a crisis is occurring so they can interact with that citizen and get them the help they need right there on that scene.
The co-responders are either a bachelor or master level in a behavioral health related field. They wear plain clothes, they don't carry weapons or anything like that.
I have a police radio that I listen to all day. Listen for, those key words: mental health, behavioral health, crisis.
There's a lot of officers that just call for me. I have my own radio number.
I also have the ability to self-dispatch to them and say 982 is en route.
Officers en route, 914, Armstrong.
So typically I arrive after they've made it safe. I'll make contact and get kind of the rundown, and then I just kind of jump right in.
I'm like, hey, my name's Allison. I'm a mental health professional. I'm here to help you. I'm not here to take you to jail or arrest you.
Sometimes all a person needs is a voice, someone neutral, someone outside that, can listen. I do a lot of safety planning, including family, their support network, who's close to you. If they're home alone, who can come over and hang out with you today? Can we lock away your sharps? Can we put up your meds? Do you need meds? Can we get you over to the urgent care to get you assessed for your medications? Some of them also are like, oh, I'm so glad you came. This made me feel so much better.
Our main goal as the co-responders is to, one, get people connected to the services that they need, and also divert from emergency rooms and jails.
And they almost get a different view of the police responding. That lets me know you care and the officers care.
Please, how can we help you?
My husband has...
In 2020, we had 722 mental health related calls for service. 2022, by that time, 1,479. These mental health related calls for service are increasing. How we're responding to that is increasing the number of crisis intervention team officers we have available, as well as the number of co-responders we have available to respond on these calls.
So what I think is important for the community to know about the co-responder program is that we're here, we exist. All you have to do when you call 911 is ask for us. Say, hey, I want a co-responder to respond to this crisis, and we'll go. I was really struggling about 8 years ago on my personal journey with mental health, and I met some amazing social workers and amazing programs that have helped me get to where I am today. I really couldn't see myself doing anything else. We want to help, and that's what we love to do.
So I had a client, we got a call, she had some suicidal ideations, and she really felt that she had nobody. And and getting to know her story and getting to know who comes around and sees you, well, then we found a support person and they responded immediately and we made a plan. I called back and checked on her in an hour, and then I checked on her in 2 hours. We were able to get her into the additional services to where she talks to someone every week or more. I just took a person that really just thought they had nobody and nobody would show up for them, and show them you do. And you'll be amazed who is in your corner if you just simply say, I need a little help.
Welcome to the Lee Summit Sign Department. We are going to walk you through our process from start to finish. We make signs as needed here. It's not like we just go out into the field and place a speed limit sign here, no parking here. Our traffic engineers, they go through and they'll do field studies. They'll send us down an engineering work order for us to go out, place new signs or remove signs as needed. Coming from the material, our blanks come in and they're just aluminum blanks. So we can put our white, our red, our fluorescent yellow, green, whatever. And basically what it looks like is just that there. Throw it up into the roller. And once we got it covered, take it to our work table here, and Tim will cut the corners, cut all the access off to where it's lined up right. As far as the plotter and the software that we use, there's a street name sign there, and he's gonna go ahead and print that out on the plotter so you can see the plotter and how it operates and runs. There's standards for the height, even just on letters on the sign blank. Basically what we have on the computer there is it's pretty much set up to those. And it goes through, it's got a very small but sharp needle that goes through and cuts everything out letter by letter. Once that's done cutting, our next stage would be bringing it over here. Currently picking out the sign letters right now. We call it weeding or picking, or however you want to call it. Next, putting it on the transfer tape. Then after it's taped, we bring it over to the roller. That's where we apply it to the actual sign blank. And we'll roll it through one time just to get the air bubbles out. And the last stage is basically just taking the transfer tape off the front of it. And there's a finished product of street name sign. We'll take you out to the field and show you our process that we go through. We're gonna go out and follow our sign guys and get something installed for you. This is where we check our underground utilities. Tim, you got AT&T?
AT&T's back here.
Evergy, Google, so we should be good to go. We normally put all of our stuff together out in the field. Then once the base is installed, we'll go ahead and put the post in there. We've come up to perfect. And that's how we do it. Simple, quick.
It's extremely rewarding overall. Just the fact of working with other council people and other volunteer commission members that are so involved and care so much about making this community better. It sort of kind of lifts your own spirits by being involved in that kind of environment with other people like that. For many years, I was a typical resident, raising a family, going to work, in many cases leaving the city for employment, and went through a leadership class through the chamber, learned a lot about our city and learned about all the great amenities and resources we have, and was asked if I was interested in volunteering on a commission. I said yes, and kind of the rest is history. I've just completed my third year on city council, And so looking forward to finishing strong with this first term and look forward to continuing to serve this community. My thing is there's so many talented people in this community that believe in so many different initiatives. And for me, one of the big reasons why I decided to run was that as a residential taxpayer, I felt that we can always increase the business tax base of our community. And that's kind of been a big part of my involvement on City Council, is to encourage and promote and make it easier for development to occur, commercial development to occur in our community, to increase that tax base and diversify that tax base. And so I think we've made significant strides the last few years. We've had a collective great group of council members and mayor where we've really truly accomplished a lot of things that there were somewhat kind of stumbling blocks for previous councils. Working new contracts with our union personnel, firefighters and police was a big accomplishment for us. The fact that we were able to push along some initiatives like the downtown renovation for a market, a farmer's market. It's been a great experience to be part of those meetings, to help nudge it, and to the point where we have a developer involved is just a great feeling to have been part of that. And others, I mean, I think our park system, we've continued to support our park system to add a new community center, for example, that we negotiated with the Metropolitan Community Colleges. So I'm proud of all those things and just being able to help make a difference in many aspects. I love definitely spending time with my family. We have 3 daughters and they're all fairly active in some in sports and other extracurricular activities. But for me, I love being outdoors. I love the trails, I love riding my bike, and I love playing golf. And we have awesome amenities and options within our community to have that kind of a lifestyle. This June will be 25 years that my wife and I have lived in Lee Summit and have raised 3 daughters in this community. I know this city has incredible, talented residents that come from all different walks of life, very diverse group of families in our community, that it's so rewarding to be involved on a government level or some kind of civic commission or committee, that in many cases you get out of it more than you put in. And I truly live by that, and I believe that.
Order the Monday, December 11th, 2023 Public Works Committee meeting. Roll call, please.
Chairman Damaro.
Here.
Vice Chair Edson.
Here.
Councilmember Lovell.
Here.
Thank you. And Councilmember Pryor may be here or not. I don't know. She's going to try. First up is approval of the agenda. I would look for a motion.
Chair,
Yes.
I move to approve the Public Works Committee agenda for Monday, December 11th, 2023.
Second. I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Roll call, please.
Chairman DeMauro,
Aye.
Vice Chair Edson,
Aye.
Councilmember Lovell,
Aye.
That's 3 ayes approving agenda. Next up is public comments, and I have a request to comment by Teresa Vollenweider. Ms. Vollenweider, you have the floor.
Yeah, can the back room pull up the overhead?
Vollenweider, 5201 Northeast Maybrook Road. I've talked a lot about Susie versus Davis. I'm going to touch on it again tonight, just to kind of prep you all. A survey shall govern the plan. The plan is a picture. The survey, the substance. The plan may be all wrong, but that does not matter if the actual survey can be shown. The survey being what is on the ground. Survey does not mean that piece of paper. It means what is out there on the ground. I'm going to start off by showing you a 5261 Northeast Maybrook Road first plat. And I want you to take a look at some things that I'll point out. I'm going to use this big map because it's the best way of looking at it.
Ms. Vollenweider, you're already past 4 minutes.
Okay, I'll be
So,
back.
All right, thank you.
Right?
All right, next up is, we'll start business. Approval of the November 13th, 2023 Public Works Committee action letter.
Chair,
Yes, Councilmember.
I would like to move for approval of the November 13th, 2023 action letter.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second to approve the November 13th, 2023 Public Works Committee action letter. Roll call, please.
Chairman DeMauro,
Aye.
Vice Chair Edson,
Aye.
Councilmember Lovell,
Aye.
Approving the November 13th, 2023 action letter. Next up, TMP 2876, an ordinance amending Chapter 16 of the Lee Summit Code of Ordinances, the Lee Summit Property Maintenance Code pertaining to stormwater best management practices. Sue Piles, how are you, Sue?
I'm the Development Engineering Manager, and I am here tonight to talk to you about a stormwater BMP inspection ordinance. So why are we here? Well, the city has a general operating permit through MDNR, Missouri Department of Natural Resources, that authorizes discharge of stormwater. MDNR has now put a requirement in for an annual inspection of private stormwater best managed practice facilities. So the revisions are required to our code so that we continue to meet the requirements of the MDNR permit. What's a BMP? Well, stormwater BMP is a feature that captures, treats, manages stormwater runoff and the pollutants in that runoff. The BMPs play a vital role in stream health and also stormwater control. So the inspections are necessary to see that they're maintained adequately so they continue to function as designed. Examples of BMPs, people typically think of detention basins right off the bat when they hear the term BMP. And they're the most common out there. There's wet basins, which a lot of people refer to as retention basins or retention ponds. There's dry basins, there's underground basins, but there's also other kinds of BMPs. Rain gardens, infiltration trenches, pervious pavers. Those are all examples of BMPs also. So what now? Well, we are proposing 2 revisions to the property maintenance code. One is just adding the definition of stormwater best management practice, and the other is adding the requirement for the annual inspection, and we took that information right out of the MDNR permit to put it in ours so that we framed it the same way. So once we get that, what's next? Well, right now we're working on an FAQ page that's going to be added to the city's website. Creative Services is going to help us in blast out the information in newsletters and social media posts. And then as we move forward, there's going to be additional activities such as an open house that we'll be planning. And communication-wise, we're going to communicate directly with correspondence to all individual owners of property that has a stormwater BMP on it, and that information will provide, that correspondence will provide information specific to their site. And implementation of this, we expect 2024 Q1 to just be education and outreach and working with the public to let them know what's coming. And then in Q2, kind of get the inspection program underway and continue to work with the public to work through that process and help them as much as we can. That's it in a nutshell. So our recommendation is that we get approval for taking this ordinance on to City Council. And if you have any questions this time, I would be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Sue. So this is any BMP on record. Is there any BMPs, well, any stormwater facilities we have in the city that we don't recognize as BMPs right now that we may catch up with?
Yes, we are going to have a cutoff line that we haven't determined yet. I'm thinking it's going to be about the year 2000 it was constructed, because that's when our stormwater requirements took a giant leap forward. And so we can really say that anything built from then on is truly functioning as the intent of the MDNR specifics.
Thank Thank you. Any other questions? Councilmember Edson.
Hey, I don't have a question. I think this is great. Councilmember DeMora, you and I were talking recently about helping HOAs with their detention ponds because they don't know what to do with them, and this flows right into that. And I think this will be great for those HOAs that get those foisted on them, you know. So I appreciate your work on this.
Councilmember Lovell.
Yeah, so this include like detention basins for like some of our commercial product, like multifamily and.
Yeah, all. Yeah,
Okay.
there's no distinction between residential and commercial on what the requirements are.
And then, and it's not fully understand, like, number one, I thought there were some interesting options there that might look better than some of the detention basins we've allowed that might be cool to explore those further, like, you know, what we could do from a design standpoint. And then, does this, like, I'll get questions about one in my district a lot, just like it fills up and whether it's flowing. So is this helping kind of like an annual maintenance to make sure that they're working properly, that the owner is taking good care of them and things like that? Or is it wouldn't cover anything aesthetically, I would think, right? Or
Well, it strictly looks at what's functionality of it, but typically when you have problems with things growing in basins or something like that, it harms the
Gotcha.
Capacity of them. So in that respect, it would
and they would be subject to these. They're not grandfathered in because they built this thing 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
No. Like I said, everything, I think we're looking at 2000. We don't have that firm yet, but anything constructed 2000 or later will be under this requirement.
Great. Well, I think it's a good update, a good process to move forward with. Thanks, Chair. Thank you.
So I want to say that I'm glad we're doing this. It's, you know, as Councilmember Edson says, we get questions about, you know, about detention ponds, dry bays, changing from, you know, an actual detention pond that's holding water to a dry bay. And you know, I always say we've got engineers, and I know because they come back and ask the same questions, they never contact you guys. So maybe this will help.
Hope so.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bet.
Looking for a motion?
I move to recommend to council for approval TMP-2876, an ordinance amending Chapter 16 of the Lee Summit Code of Ordinances, the Lee Summit Property Maintenance Code pertaining to stormwater best management practices.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Councilmember Edson and a second by Councilmember Lovell, moving TMP 276 to the entire council with the recommendation of approval. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Chairman DeMora,
Aye.
Vice Chair Edson,
Aye.
Councilmember Lovell.
Aye.
Thank you. That's 3 ayes, moving TMP 2875 to the full council. Next up, TMP 2877, an ordinance approving change order number 2 to the agreement with Streetwise Incorporated for pavement marking services for an increased amount of $147,782.81 for a revised agreement amount of $680,070.89 and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same. You're not Perry Allen.
I am not Perry Allen. Susan Berry filling in for Perry Allen. I'm the city traffic engineer. I'm here to present change order number 2 for the 2023 pavement marking project. This is an annual on-call contract to refresh pavement markings among the city. It's set up as 1-year contract with 3 renewals. We're in the 4th year of the contract. This change order, it is substantial. I want to explain why that is. Each year we do long lines, so your edge lines, your center lines. We do that every year on arterials, every other year on residential collectors. But then every 4 years we do a quarter of the city with symbols. So that would be your stop bars, your arrows, a lot of the gore, the wider gores where you have like an island leading out. And since we do those every 4 years, you know, we only hit that part of the city. So the inspector that was on this year, he wanted to try to clean up some of the mess ups of the past, shall we say. So imagine if you're trying to stripe the same long line every single year, you might hit it a little different every year, and before you know it, you got 2 4-inch stripes look like, you know, like 1 12-inch block. So he wanted to kind of fix some of that, knowing that we were we can't fix everything all at once. He kind of restricted that to the quarter that we're doing the symbols in. And so so basically in 4 years, we hope to have kind of those kind of situations cleaned up, if that helps to explain it at all. I don't know if I explained that well or not.
Any questions? Councilmember.
So you said the inspector, so like, is that a third party that comes in and?
No, that's a city inspector.
Okay, city inspector that goes through and do it.
Yeah.
And then this is just more of a comment, as technology advances, self-driving cars will become more prevalent. They actually read our street lines. That's how they do it. So I like seeing that we're being good stewards of those, and then just making sure that we're filling in all the areas too, as more and more people start to go towards that. You know, having a city that's well striped could be an attraction for people that, you know, it's like, hey, this one is really built well for self-driving. It's a ways away, but glad to see this. Thanks. That's it, Chair.
And then one other thing I'll add, since we are in the 4th year of this contract, we are working to kind of put that language into the contract. So moving forward, we won't have these same change orders. We will, you know, any removals needed would not be an additional cost. It's just subsequent to the work. And so when they bid the project, they would know what is expected of them. And like I said, we're going to hit 1/4 of the city every year. So
that was a good point, because you soon find out what cities don't take care of their lines when you have a car that reads the lines, and then it shuts down. I mean, you know, you have to go back to actually driving it, and you realize
you got to drive this thing.
Yeah, you never noticed that there was no line until something like that happens, and now you see it coming up, and you think, okay.
well, and we also have our federal guidelines, the manual on traffic control devices, that the next revision is going to focus a lot on self-driving cars, and pavement marking is a huge part of that.
Okay, thank you, Susan. Thank you. Okay.
Chair?
Yes, Councilmember Lovell.
I move to recommend to City Council approval agenda item number TMP 2877, an ordinance approving change order number 2 to the agreement with Streetwise Incorporated for pavement marking services for an increased amount of $147,782.81 for a revised agreement amount of $680,070.89, and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Councilmember Lovell, a second by Councilmember Edson, moving TMP 2877 to the full council with the recommendation of approval. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Chairman DeMauro?
Aye.
Vice Chair Edson?
Aye.
Councilmember Lovell?
Aye.
7, the full council. Next up, TMP 2871, an ordinance approving the award of RFQ number 2024-014 for design services for Fire Station Number 1, Phase 1 feasibility study to WSKF for an amount not to exceed $113,830, and authorizing the city manager to execute. Sharon, come on down.
Hi. So yes, this is for Fire Station Number 1. The first thing we need to do before we decide what we're building is decide what we're saving. So we're going to have the architect do a feasibility study with us. So it's a small portion of what their fee eventually will be, but we haven't really, we can't negotiate the whole fee until we know the whole scope. Do you know what I'm saying? So this is just a fee to do that first investigation to help us decide what to keep and what we can't keep. Eventually the cost of the work is going to be close to, we estimate, close to $13 million. So this is a good small investment to get us started on the right track.
Hey, thanks, Sharon. Now that 13 million amount, is that a demolition and rebuild, or could it go the other way too?
It could go either way.
Both are about 13.
Well, we'll find out. I took 3/4 of what we were allocated in the NTI budget. So the original cost was, I don't know, have to do the opposite math. Anyway, it was a bigger number, and so 3/4 of that is 12,750,000, and that's what I set as okay, this is what we have to build with. So the other 25 is for all the other soft costs and whatever happens, and contingencies and things like that.
And
Anyway.
it was interesting. We had pretty good response on it, too.
We did, yes. Yeah, it was a good one.
Any other questions?
Chair,
Yes, Councilmember Edson.
I move to recommend to council for approval TMP-2871, an ordinance approving the award of RFQ number 2024-014 for design services for Fire Station Number 1, Phase 1 feasibility study to WSKF for an amount not to exceed $113,830 and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Councilmember Edson, a second by Councilmember Lovell, moving TMP 2871 to the full council with a recommendation of approval. Any discussion on the motion? Roll call, please.
Chairman DeMauro,
Aye.
Vice Chair Edson,
Aye.
Councilmember Lovell,
Aye.
Thank you. That's a 3 ayes, moving TMP 2871 to the council. Next up, TMP 2874, an ordinance approving the award of RFQ number 2024-030 for design services for the Joint Operations Center and Phase 2 Police Department remodel to Hafer Welker for an amount not to exceed $2,489,125 and authorizing the city manager to for the same. Deputy Chief John Bunker.
John Bunker with the Police Department. You teed that up very well. This is the contract agreement to Hafer Welker. Many of you know this is also part of the no tax increase bond. Several projects came out of that. This actually started a while back, if you remember. Emergency dispatch audit started in 2019, but it concluded in 2020 by Mission Critical Partners. There were 8 factors that were looked at during that study. I don't want to belabor it, but I just go over a little bit of the history of this. Organizational structure, operational configuration, staffing, training, quality assurance, leadership and planning, performance management, and technology. Ultimately leading city leaders to make the recommendation to co-locate both our fire department and police department dispatch centers. Obviously, this project will also house several other city departments within that. So with me tonight, I have obviously Director Parks, but we have representatives throughout pretty much the whole city on this project. So without any further ado, I'll turn it back over to y'all if you have specific questions, but this is design, this is the contract for our design firm that we've selected.
Questions? We're glad that we're finally getting to this point where we're doing this kind of stuff because, you know, we're going to be able to see action now. I mean, we've got.
Excited.
Chair?
Yes, Councilmember Lovell.
I move to recommend to City Council approval of agenda item number TMP 2874, an ordinance approving the award of RFQ number 2024-030 for design services for the Joint Operations Center and Phase 2 Police Department remodel to Hafer Welker for an amount not to exceed $2,489,125 and authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement for the same.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Councilmember Lovell, second by Councilmember Edson, moving TMP 2874 to the full council with a recommendation of approval. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Chairman DeMauro,
Aye.
Vice Chair Edson,
Aye.
Councilmember Lovell,
Aye.
3 ayes. Next up, TMP 2866, an ordinance approving an electrical easement in favor of Evergy for an electrical transmission line on Lot 5, Raintree Lake Village, related to improvements for Lee Summit Fire Station 5, and authorizing the mayor to execute the same. Ms. Bloom.
Sharon Bloom, Central Building Services. Yes, this is at Fire Station 5, the one down on 150 near Ward Road. We're getting close on it. It's getting close. We have the transformer on site, and we just need the hookup from the road to the transformer. And Evergy decided, well, they need an easement. So I'm here to ask you to let us have that easement.
Extension cord's out of the question, right?
Right? Yeah, they're no fun sometimes.
Thank you, Sharon. Any questions from the council?
Chair,
Councilmember Edson.
I recommend to council for approval TMP-2866, an ordinance approving an electrical easement in favor of Evergy for an electrical transmission line at Lot 5, Raintree Lake Village, related to improvements for Lee Summit Fire Station Number 5, and authorizing the mayor to execute the same.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Councilmember Edson and a second by Councilmember Lovell, moving TMP 2866 to the full council with the recommendation of approval. Seeing no discussion, roll call, please. Oh, I'm sorry. Councilmember Edson.
At what point do we stop calling it Fire Station Number 5? I guess we gotta get the firefighters out of it before we can call it the Police South Substation. Oh, yes, okay.
Let's wait for them to move first. And
Yeah,
then we
I'm
can
sure that
change
we don't
hands.
want to start any internal fighting. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Roll call, please.
Chairman Demoro,
Aye.
Vice Chair Edson,
Aye.
Councilmember Lovell.
Aye.
That's 3 ayes, moving TMP 2866 to the full council. Next up, TMP 2523, an ordinance approving a water line easement in favor of Public Water Supply District Number 13 of Jackson County, Missouri, for a water pipeline on land generally located at Legacy Park, and authorizing the mayor to execute the same. Mr. Ison.
Thank you, Scott Ison, Chief Counsel, Infrastructure and Recreation for the city. During the development process for Woodland Oaks, it was determined that there would be a slight adjustment needed to the water line that exists out there from Water District Number 13. Also, a fire hydrant needed to be added out there. This land is owned by the city and is parkland out there that we commonly know as Legacy Park. So the intent of this ordinance would be to allow the city to execute an easement to allow that water line to be permitted out there in the area that it is right now. It has been built on the land. So with that, I'll answer any questions you may have.
Questions? Seeing none.
Chair. I move to recommend to City Council approval of agenda item number TMP 2523, an ordinance approving a water line easement in favor of Public Water Supply District Number 13 of Jackson County, Missouri, for a water pipeline on land generally located at Legacy Park, and authorizing the mayor to execute the same.
Second.
Councilmember Lovell, second by Councilmember Edson, moving TMP 2523 to the full council with a recommendation of approval. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Chairman Demoro,
Aye.
Vice Chair Edson,
Aye.
Councilmember Lovell.
Aye.
Next up, TMP 2868, an ordinance authorizing the execution of a cooperative agreement for hangar number 2 at the Lee Summit Municipal Airport between the city of Lee Summit, Missouri, and the reorganized school district number 7 of Jackson County, Missouri, and authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement for the same. Mike Anderson. It's Michael Park.
Oh, good evening.
Director
Michael
of Public
Park,
Works.
Director of Public Works. I'm going to cover this last item of business on behalf of Mr. Anderson. And hopefully we're pretty quick, but I'll be happy to answer any questions. This is a cooperative agreement between the city and the Lee Summit School District for Hangar 2 and our support of their aviation program. So this agreement basically outlines the cost apportionment between the school district and the city, as that facility will be soon advertised for bid and construction. Separate agreement for lease of space will come later, probably sometime, I'm guessing after construction's done, but before they occupy the facility.
And that's generally the second floor, right?
It
That's
is.
where they'll-
Yeah, approximately 8,000 square feet, I believe, second story, above where we will have an interim operation.
Chair, I move to recommend to council for approval TMP-2868, an ordinance authorizing the execution of a cooperative agreement for hangar number 2 at the Lee Summit Municipal Airport between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and the reorganized School District number 7 of Jackson County, Missouri, and authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement for the same.
Second.
That's a motion by Councilmember Edson, second by Councilmember Lovell, moving TMP 2868 to the full council with a recommendation of approval. Seeing no discussion, roll call, please.
Chairman DeMauro,
Aye.
Vice Chair Edson,
Aye.
Councilmember Lovell,
Aye.
868 to the full council. Next up, roundtable. Councilmember Edson.
I was going to say that I'm proud to be part of this. This is a great agreement. This is really neat. So I think this is, well, is another way we put the city and the school district and the airport all on the map. It's really neat.
We're very, very lucky to work on an agreement and to have something like that happening in Lee Summit.
You all should be very proud of this. I mean, you talk about collaboration with education partners and our critical success factor in support of Ignite, and this is it, right? This is what we're doing, and very exemplary of how we can work well with the school district. And they have already approved their part. It's already gone to the school board. So as soon as we get through council, we'll be ready to roll.
Good. That's good to know. Otherwise, Councilmember Lovell.
And just piggyback off that, I mean, it's just more, those are, getting in that aviation, there's just so many great jobs and careers that can be born out of that, and just love us seeing that along with trades and some of the other work that we're doing. So that's really neat. And the only other thing I was going to say is the first agenda item we have with the BMR, and maybe it's something I just need to understand better, but I was thinking of commercial development, specifically like multifamily and stuff when we do those detention ponds for the water runoff, like what other solutions may or may not be available to make those, I don't know, better looking or more efficient, and understanding there's costs associated with it, but maybe something we consider on future projects that we're doing more upfront to require the developer to create something that is not just a hole in the ground. Not that that's, but that's kind of what a lot of them end up turning out to be. But so I just don't know enough about it and what we can or can't do, but it might be nice to learn more what other options are out there. And if there was a way to start having more developers do those things, that'd be great. I'm sure it would help Public Works too.
Yeah, there are options. And at this point, they are in that. They're options for developers. We don't dictate if they have, underground storage, above ground retention, which looks more like a lake or a pond, or dry basins. Other BMPs are also optional, right? They just have to address our stormwater capacity and quality requirements. However, I think where the council may begin to go down that path of dictating a little bit of what that aesthetic is or which type of BMP is used is when developers start asking for incentives. And I believe you've had some of those conversations, not related to stormwater, but related to other aspects of a development.
Yeah, just like we think of power lines or other things that we require them include, it might be something we look at improving as we continue to grow. Great, thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Any staff roundtable?
I have none. Thank you.
Well, having that no more roundtable, I'll adjourn this meeting at 5:34. Looks like. Thank you. Thank you all. I know. Have my hands on the. Tells me it starts flashing. Yeah. You're in control now. Yeah.